I'm Tamika D. Mallory.
And it's your boy Mysonne, the General.
We are your host of TMI.
Tamika and Mysonne's information, truth, motivation, and inspiration.
New name, new energy, but
same old us. Hey, Tamika D. Mallory, what's going on with you today?
What's going on? What's happening?
Ah, man, it's a cold day. Very cold day in New York. You know, we on holiday, but we still here on holiday.
It is holiday time, but I just have submitted myself to the idea that I'm not going to get my general holiday, downtime just because it's been so busy. It's cold, but it's not like, I don't know. I guess it's not February. And that's what I brace for. So
I'm getting a little sniffle, so I know it's getting cold. I don't usually get cold, but when I feel that little sniffle coming, I know it's wintertime.
Well, I am over the cold, the flu that I had, but still the lingering of the mucus and all of that, it doesn't just go away. I kind of feel like I haven't been having or drinking like milk or anything like that, but I did eat something that had some cheese on it, and I knew immediately, like I was getting better quicker, and that kind of set me back. So for people who are trying to get rid of your winter, the first part of the winter, terrible flu, terrible cold, no dairy. That's like the thing that I realized set me back a few days, because I was at the point where I wasn't coughing, I wasn't straining my throat and doing all of and all of that stuff. But as soon as I ate something with cheese, I forgot. And once I did that, I got setbacks really far, actually. I started, it had been a couple of really bad days. So I had to go through the whole process again of the ginger and the this and the that and da-da. And I think I'm better, but I can tell you that the dairy is absolutely out, maybe even for the whole season.
Yeah, it's a, what is this, like a new strain of the flu, right? That they say.
Yeah, that's what they say. They say it's a new strain. I had lingering effects of it for 4 weeks. So, and then, we have other people, friends and people who have it, and they're fighting their way through still 2 weeks later, still needing what do you call the IV drip. And I know my hairstylist needed to get some Pedialyte. Like it's significant. Whatever it is, it's like, I wouldn't call it COVID, even though I feel like I did lose my taste. But with COVID, it put me down, especially the first time. But this is like, I don't know, I kept working because I had no choice, but I felt real weak every minute of the day. It was bad. I mean, Janice had it. She knows.
Everybody, my son was sick for about a good 4 or 5 days, so I seen it. God, knock on wood, it didn't touch me. I said I got me a little sniffle now because I know that cold start getting into your bones.
It's also very contagious. It's very contagious. That's the other thing I noticed is, like, you could be around somebody that has it for a brief moment, and then it's like, boom, if they cough on you the wrong way or whatever. Me, I'm a person that's very protective of other people, so I'm kind of like trying to turn my face to the side. Even in intimate settings, I'm still trying, like, not to give people the thing. But other people don't care. There's no self-awareness at all. People just and then it gets on other people. So yeah, this is a nasty flu. And my sister, she had it as well. We think we got it from my granddaughter, and they called it, when she works in the hospital, she's about to be a nurse practitioner in just a few days.
Okay, Sharon.
And she had to get tested because she was at work, probably looking really sick, and her friends, the other nurses and stuff, are like, "Are you okay?" She got on 3 masks because Sharon will wear 3 masks in a minute. She don't mind. She wears a face shield and 2 different masks. That's her regular. And she said that her friends were like, "You got to get tested." They were like, "You look puny in the eyes." And when she tested, it was influenza A. So it is absolutely a flu.
Well, I'm glad she's better. I'm glad you better.
Everybody's
Glad
better.
everybody's better. Janice looks like, she's back to life.
Yeah.
So I'm glad everybody's better.
All right, let's get this show going. My thought of the day today, as I listen to some of like the Trump administration's announcements and things that they say, whether it be press conferences and or his speech that he did the other day, they lie a lot. Like it's like overwhelming, and I'm not saying that all administrations don't lie, because I can think of things that I've heard from previous administrations, even the Biden administration, and I'm thinking to myself, this information, I can't say that you are flat out lying, but you're definitely telling the story in a way that either covers and or does not go into the detail that people really care about. Like you're creating a narrative to protect, defend, deflect, or whatever. So I think that is a normal thing. And some of it is that if you say flat out everything about any policy or any national issue, you have to account for the fact that there is a potential for people to panic. So, they always are trying to, if you don't have enough information, you don't want to say what you don't know. If you do have information, it may be that you can't tell it exactly. So I get that. I get it. I understand it. I do also know that there's a difference between attempting to, give people enough that they are informed, but not too much to where it causes hysteria in the media and everybody is in it and you haven't even been able to get your hands around it yet. Mm-hmm. And just flat out lying, making up numbers, canceling the jobs report so that you don't have to tell people the truth about how bad things are from a workforce perspective. Those things it's a different level of a problem. And so what I realize is that all of our platforms, those of us who are podcasting that have actual good sense and political knowledge, because there's a lot of trash out there, but those of us who are podcasting, those of us who get on TV, those of us who own any type of media networks or apparatuses, we have a responsibility to make sure that people are properly informed, especially when we see things come across our feed that lets us know that folks are not, and that people with major platforms are helping to spread the lies and the misinformation. Sometimes they don't know, sometimes they do know, and they're just they're part of the game that is being played with us. And so it makes me think to say, well, what is our responsibility? And I think that we have to, in every turn, give information that elevates people's thinking, number one, and two, that dispels these folks' consistent lies. They get on TV every time you turn around and they say that they are working to get rid of criminals from America. That is what they say. Every time they say, we're working to get rid of criminals in America. We're doing a good job of getting the criminals out, the worst of them. The people who came here, they say, oh, these people came here, they had criminal backgrounds, they've been in trouble for this reason and that reason, and then this country opened their jails and let them all out and they came to the United States. This is what they say. So if you are somebody who believes that, especially if you're not an immigrant, and by the way, Black people drink the Kool-Aid, as our public advocate Jumaane Williams would say. Like, some of us believe the things that they're telling. Some of us are mad at the immigrants for jobs that they don't even have, the jobs that you would ever be in the first place. Not all immigrants, but the ones that they be like, oh yeah, I can't get a job. Well, where are you applying? Well, I'm applying for the director of public safety for the city of Oakland. There is a person who's undocumented is not applying for that position.
That's a fact.
So you are drinking from a fountain of lies that feeds into your ignorance, pretty much.
Because most of those things are so easy to fact check. It's simple. It don't even take 2 seconds just to Google and say, hey, can this person get the job? It takes 2 seconds.
Right. And if you are undocumented.
Exactly. But when you want to believe something.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I watch people do it all the time. As long as it support a narrative that they are comfortable with and they want to push anyway, they immediately post it.
Absolutely.
And I said, where did you get this information from? Where did you fact check? Who told you this? And they don't have any information. They don't have nothing else to say, but they'll post it. And it's so irresponsible.
Yeah. So we have to make sure that we share information. So like I said, the last few days, I've been listening to this spin that they're saying, because what's happening is that people are watching folks be disappeared off of our streets. They're watching the violence of ICE. They're watching women be slammed on the ground. There was a pregnant woman who was the other day, there's a video that was viral of her being dragged across the ground, and she's pregnant and she's being dragged and her arm is being pulled damn near out of the socket and everybody is screaming. There's another video of an ICE agent pulling out a weapon and pointing it towards people and kind of swinging it around. So as you have more and more of that, they have to, on Fox News and from the podium for people who might not know, that means in the White House, the podium is the place where different officials, particularly the White House spokesperson, will go up there, and that's where they basically talk to reporters and they put their messaging of the day out almost every day, if probably every day, multiple times a day. So they have to ramp up their lies because they know that what people are seeing with their eyes doesn't make people feel good. Even the people who are who don't care about anybody else, right? They do not like seeing a woman being dragged and thrown to the ground, a man having a stroke or a seizure with a baby in his arm, while these bloodthirsty agents, quote unquote, are trying to kidnap him. Now you have J.D. Vance using language like we're building an army. So the ICE agents are now being classified as an army. They want to have the Department of War. This is the mindset that they have. And so when they say that they are removing criminals from the country, the sad part about it is that they could have stopped at 25% of those who they have already deported or kidnapped first, because 75% of all the people that they have deported have not committed a crime. They don't even have criminal backgrounds. So these are people who might have been working in the pizza shop or might have been going to, help somebody put up a roof on their home, or they may have been working in some other restaurant or some other field. They may have been just here visiting someone else, trying to figure it out. Maybe they did travel here illegally to come to this country to figure out how to have a better life. But the one thing they did not do was commit a crime. And that is what the administration said they were going to be targeting, is people who are the criminals. They're the worst of these. And nonetheless, out of 100% of those people who have been deported, you only did that in 25% of those individuals. 75% had no criminal background. And on top of that, there's a percentage of people who have been wrongfully kidnapped, had to be returned back to wherever it is, or you've sent people to the wrong place. And I would say this, that it is a clear indication of the failures of Donald Trump and his business models in general. A lot of people see his big towers, the hotels, his name on things, and to them, that means you're
Symbolize
successful.
success,
They don't care to open up the business and to open up the Pandora's box
The
and
history
learn
of it, yeah.
about the racism and to learn about the failed businesses, the bankruptcies, and all the other things that have happened. And exactly,
Lawsuits.
the lawsuits, exactly. And that is what's happening now in America. They are lying, number one, and then branding things and changing names and doing exactly what he's done with his businesses to put on a show. It's a showman.
It's a Ponzi scheme. America is involved in a Ponzi scheme right now because they're telling you, right? So, okay, they started with Doge. Hey, Doge is going to get us billions of dollars, trillions of dollars back. Once we cut these government things, watch, trillions of dollars. We got all of this spending from the government that these people are stealing, and it's wasteful money, and watch how it changed the deficit. And they did all that, and nothing happened. They told you was going to benefit from it. You didn't benefit from it. It just disappeared. Those just miraculously disappeared. Then they said tariffs. We're going to get tariffs. It's hundreds of trillions of dollars every day in tariffs coming back. Our deficit is going to go back. America's going to be great again. And now they did all this tariff shit, and you don't see no benefit from the tariffs.
Well, the tariffs are causing businesses, including
but I'm saying
businesses,
benefits.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. There's not one benefit for. So now they had to pull back the tariffs. But they told you all of these things was going to benefit you. But you know who keeps benefiting? Every time they do that, him and his partners, they line their pockets. When they rigged the stock market and they put all these things up and they said, we're going to do this today, and the stock market went up and down and they made $1 billion and $1 trillion here and there. They kept making money while you lose. Now in the stock market, all the people that say, oh, we just making money in this, none. Everybody is sitting there trying to figure out what to do because the stock market is so unstable. So they constantly made you believe money was somewhere, and you invested and you thinking it's money somewhere, and they haven't. It hasn't turned. The deficit hasn't gone down. It's actually going up. Inflation is getting higher. They keep trying to tell you something is happening.
Well, I was listening to a report where they said inflation on certain things are down, but it's higher in other places. And that just brings you to what took place with the holiday shopping. They said people spent more money than before, than ever before. Online, the people spent more money than ever before. And what they try to use that as a way of saying that the boycotts don't work because people are spending more money. But what they're not telling you is that people are spending more money on less items.
Exactly.
So they bought, last year they may have bought, or the year before, they may have bought 7 things and spent $230. Now they've bought 2 things and spent $252 because things are just that much more expensive. I mean, everything. I'm just thinking about in the last couple of days, just trying to travel around New York City using Uber and Lyft, which I often have to use to get around. The prices are so high, I've been like, I'm going to get on the train because it's impossible. I'm probably not dressed appropriately for the train, definitely overdressed to be on the train. Like if I made a decision when I leave my house, I'm going to take the train today, I would dress completely different. But I'm going to meetings and brunches and things with people that everybody is dressed fashionably or at least suitably for the occasion. And it's really not for the train. One, it can be dangerous. We know that. That's a real thing. Yeah. And 2, you walking and click-a-clacking around with your shoes, running up and down the stairs and trying to keep up with the pace of what's moving. That's just not something that I would generally do. But I've had to make that decision because when an Uber costs me $212 plus an hour and a half to get home, it's no way. So my thought of the day is very simple. That when I think about the Trump administration and just something as not as simple, but something as clear as the numbers on their immigration policy and this deportation crisis that I believe is absolutely a kidnapping of people, 75% of those have not had a criminal background. And that means that it's a failed model. Okay, whenever you have a business model, I've been running businesses for a long time. When you have a business model that you are outweighed on the side of it not working, versus the side of it working.
Yeah.
So if it was 75 and 25, with 25% of the people being those who just kind of, it's
more lost than profit,
unfortunate.
yeah.
It's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, we still got 75% of the people who had criminal backgrounds and we deported them. Then that's how you go out and say you've been successful. When it's the other way around, it's a failed model. And the failed model of what is happening with the kidnapping, deportations is the same failed model that Donald Trump has used within all of his businesses, where they put on a showman, they tell you a lie, they want you to believe whatever narrative they continue to spin, and because of your own biases, because of your own issues that you're dealing with, you feed into it and then turn around, and on the other side of the coin, the truth is there, and what they're telling you is not real. And that is the same exact thing that's happening across the country in so many different ways. And hopefully all of us who have platforms will take the time to actually talk about this stuff so that the American people are not rocked to sleep, because now you have media companies that are being purchased by people who don't want you to know the truth. And so you really got to dig to get real information. Mm-hmm. Speaking of that, I was listening to a person on YouTube the other day. Somebody sent me a link, and I was just listening to this person, and they had like 40,000 views on this particular video, and the whole thing was so full of lies. I mean, just lie after lie after lie, and I was like, wow, we as a people are truly in trouble when there are really not a lot of sources to get real information. And then the sources that are out there with real information, you don't really follow those sources. Most people...
Because you've been conditioned and taught to believe that those sources are lying, right? If I constantly tell you something over and over is a lie, and you hear it more often, and that's what the algorithm does. The algorithm puts something into your ear over and over. So you grab that as its truth, right? It becomes your truth, right? Perception is reality. So what happens is our algorithm, and this administration has grabbed up all of the... I just watched, I was looking at the Shade Room today, and they put some shit on there, and I was just sitting there like, wow. So now everybody's doing the same thing. CBS just took off a special where they was talking about the immigration and how people were being shipped to jails, and they vetted it. They did 4 or 5 people fact checked it over that, and they still pulled it because it didn't fit into the narrative that all of the immigrants that was going over there were criminals and things were going properly, and they did not want that to be seen. So they are intentionally taking proper information from the American people, and they're intentionally pushing misinformation on purpose. When we talk about the immigration policies, and we talking about Trump's the people that he is pardoning, he's pardoning criminals, like big high level criminals.
All white men too.
All
they say.
white. These men are high level criminals. So when you pardon high level billionaire criminals, right? These are the people that employ these little people that you say is the worst people in the world. The little Venezuelan, the MS-13, all these little people, they being employed by the billionaire to do their dirty work. You pardoning drug lords, you pardoning crypto. These people are hiring these little people that you saying is the worst scum, but these is the people. You're selling the high level green cards for millions of dollars and telling people this is the express green card. You're selling American freedom, right, to people who are actually criminals. They got billions and trillions of dollars because they're criminals, and you don't care about that. But you want to focus on people that don't have nothing and might commit some low-level crimes to try to survive and make us demonize them while y'all praise the real criminals.
Yeah. It's a Ponzi scheme, like you said, but it's even more than it being just a Ponzi scheme. It is also a culture change. Like, it's a cultural shift that's happening.
It's not even cult. It's just cult. It ain't even cultural because it doesn't
but the reason why I'm saying that is because you can force yourself to tune it out so you don't have to deal with it, and then you start to become it, believe it, see it, spread it, speak about it as if it is fact. The only way that you can fight off the The only way you can fight off the unintended or the intended consequences is to feed yourself with information more than you watch all of this other nonsense garbage stuff that we all participate in. We all partake in, whatever your vice may be. But when you have, again, it's a failed model. If you spend 75% of your time on social media, on some, looking at mindless TV, and only 25% of your time reading and educating yourself, that's a failed model. And wherever you spend the most of your time is where you're putting your most investment. And it becomes a culture shift in your personal life when you say, I'm actually gonna read more than I scroll. I'm actually going to write more than I watch TV, right? That's when you start to see, oh, you know what? I'm actually not as interested in stupid shit as I used to be.
But there's the gift and the curse with that. And I say to myself, the more that I unplug from the matrix, the more you feel depleted and defeated. Right? Because the more that you educate yourself about what's going on right now and you see how many people are lost, it'll have you in a level of trauma, right? It's levels of stress, it's trauma, it's anxiety. Like, you just don't believe that so many people are being misled, and it's people that you think have some level of intellect, and you watch them say and just feed into this bullshit, and it really could drive you kind of crazy. They said when the more educated you watch throughout history, the people who become more educated became more secluded. A lot of them felt like they didn't even fit here no more. The more that I learn and I pay attention to what we're dealing with right now, it's like I don't see the pathway. I don't see the pathway to where we moving away from it. It looks like we moving further and further into darkness. So a lot of us wanted, I can't focus on that all day because I lose my mind. So what I want to do is enjoy myself a little bit, right? I go over here and I unplug and I get involved in this little TV show. I scroll on some little funny things. Like, you got your little funny things that you like to watch on Instagram because it brings you a level of joy. And when you get so caught up in what we're dealing with now, you can lose your joy. You can actually lose your joy.
But what I'm saying is, I think a little bit different. Number one, I still talk about the balance of not spending more time on entertainment and less on education. But the other thing is that even though this time period in our world looks different from previous times when we've dealt with attempt at authoritarianism and fascism in our worlds, right? Because we have examples of it all over, not just here in the United States. The more that we educate ourselves, which is not going to come from social media, it's not going to come from current posts, it's going to come from getting back in the crates of the books and reading about other nations and understanding, like, what did they do. That's the type of work that I'm saying should be taking precedent over our entertainment in this moment, because there are ways to overcome. There are ways to fight back. There are ways to resist. But and if you just watch CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, and whatever other channels, yeah, you'll lose your shit. But it's good to be able to read about warriors and people who were fighting, because that gives you the inspiration and also puts you in a mindset of what was it that they had to do? How did they have to start thinking and operating in order to fight back? So I'm saying that we just all have to find a balance where you got a little bit of entertainment, a little bit of edutainment, a little bit of, or a lot bit of education, educating yourself, and of course some inspiration, and bring it all together. And what I find today, a lot of us are 75% on entertainment and 25% on anything else. And then in that 25%, you gotta work, you gotta learn your craft for the new job you're trying to do, you gotta build your business, you got so much to do that trying to understand the politics of what's happening around you becomes a zero sum almost. So that's just what I find. So that brings us to the TMI today. And as you always say, it seems like we always have to talk about this administration, but it's almost like it's necessary. Like, I finally settled in to my mind that we just cannot let these people get away with saying whatever they want, and then there's no counter, right? After all week shit's happening, there has to be a counter. And of course, the big news of the weekend was Nicki Minaj going to the Turning Point America's Fest or something. I don't know the name, and I'm not going to try to remember, but
it was focused on the youth.
Was it really?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So Turning Point USA, they had a conference this past weekend, and Nicki Minaj was there. The TMI is not even that Nicki Minaj was there. That's not the TMI, because you know what? People have free physical reign to go and do whatever it is that they want to do. The TMI, what was too much for me, and other people are going to say, I don't think it was too much. She still should, just like you have free reign to go, you should have free reign to speak. The TMI for me is the things she said. When you listen to the actual words that she spoke while being in that space, it is as if she went there not just to be a guest at the conference, which is bad enough for most of us. Again, some people may not feel that way, but it is the chastising of Black women that I think was her bottom. That was the lowest point. Even saying that you appreciate Donald Trump and and admire him and all of that stuff, those things I think is terrible. But the bottom for me was the attack against Black women and the lie, because it was a lie that she told, that there are Black women who are trying to stop white women from feeling good about themselves. I have never in the history of my 45 years, and I want other people to chime in, because perhaps there is a world that I'm not in where Black women are sitting around saying that they want to stop women with blonde, what did she say? Blue eyes and blonde hair, or whatever, white women from celebrating themselves. I have never, ever been in any room. What we have said is, if you steal from us, don't go out there and try to say you created cornrows, because that's a lie. Okay.
It's called appropriation.
It's appropriation. What we have said is, get out of our way. Stop trying to make us feel like we have to live up to certain cultural, their norms in order for us to be beautiful. What we have said is, just leave us alone. That's what we have said. What we have said is, stop harming our communities with your white tears. Stop being a Karen. That's what we have said. I have never heard a Black woman sit around and say, well, I don't know why the white women want to feel beautiful. What the hell are you even talking about? So she went up there and told a bold-faced lie. And then when you listen to someone sit on the stage and say that they admire Donald Trump and they admire J.D. Vance, and that this administration is giving them hope and making them feel seen and all of that. So what we are now going to be, I need to be clear about what I'm hearing. I understand that you, Nicki Minaj, agree that it is okay that almost 1 million Black women have been pushed out of the workforce from January to October of 2025 since Donald Trump has been in office, because of, one, the federal government layoffs. That's one. And two, because of the attacks against diversity, equity, and inclusion. You support that because you said you admire them and they're doing wonderful. People are being deported. People are being kidnapped. People are being detained. Some of them, we now know, the majority, 75% of them, have never even committed a crime. And as an immigrant yourself, you adore that these people are being kidnapped off of our streets and sent to places that they were not born and have no relationship to, because you admire them. Healthcare costs are completely out of control. You've got people who were paying $400 or $500 a month, and now their premiums are $800, $900, $1,000. People are now saying that they are going to have to let go of their health insurance because they cannot afford to keep the insurance plan that they have. Food prices are out of control. So I'm just trying to get my head around what is it that you adore? What is it that you respect and honor so much about these people? They are blowing up boats with people that have never, ever been charged with a crime, and they have not shown us any evidence to prove that these people are doing anything illegal, and you admire them. You admire an administration that is banning Black history from schools, right? And from institutions in general, and while we're talking about this administration that Nicki Minaj has so much admiration for, do you know that they have a list of words that the federal government has released? Now, this is a list if you are federally funded, or if you are an educational institution. Again, you work for the government, you have to have federal funding. These are some of the words that have been banned. Okay? Activism has been banned. Anti-racism has been banned. Biases, banned. Black and Latinx, banned. Clean energy, ban. Cultural heritage, ban. Disability, ban. Disparity, ban. These are some of the words that have been banned. Now, I just told you Black and Latinx is banned on the list, but white is not banned.
Well, J.D. Vance said today, that you don't have to be ashamed to be a white man anymore, because you used to have to be, I guess. You control half of the population. You control most of the wealth in America, but you had to be ashamed to be a white man. And it's the hypocrisy and the cognitive dissonance that we're dealing with in this moment is just, like I said, it's scary to me, because I wake up I start now. I'm really starting this thing called the Twilight Zone, because I feel like this is literally the Twilight Zone. I found the clip from the Twilight Zone, like the guy who was in the Twilight Zone, and he was explaining about pretty much what's going on right now. And he was talking about dictatorship and how someone is trying to control everything. And he really broke it down. And one of my friends put me on, and I didn't realize that the Twilight Zone was actually created to address the racism in the country and have it to be on a TV screen. I never realized that's what it was. But he said, when you do that, and I started looking it up, and it actually was. And I remember seeing a couple of episodes, and there's one I always point out. It was, you could never see the faces of the people. And they had the people in a hospital, and they made them feel like they was the ugliest people in the world. They was like, these people are the ugliest people in the world, the people are ugliest people in the world. And you never seen the faces, and you just keep seeing the doctors walk in the room, and they doing operations on them. So one of them had an operation done, and he's like, we're going to try to fix it. And he was talking to the girl. It was a girl. She was talking to a guy, and he was in the room with her. He was waiting for her to get her operation. And when they took the mask off, they unbacked. They said, oh, my God, she's still remarkably ugly. And it was just a regular, but she was a white woman. But she was a pretty white woman. And the people that was doing the operation had pig faces. Everybody else had a pig face. And they was telling her that she was just the ugliest person in the world, and and it just made me realize the time that we're in. They're telling you that the shit that you know is right is wrong. It's like it's in a reverse world that we're in, and that's what one of the things that it pointed out to me. So I really think that we are in a Twilight Zone right now. Like we are literally in a warp zone.
But I tell you that I don't give Nicki Minaj that much credit to say, oh, it's the Twilight Zone or she's been sucked in. I don't believe that. I think she's making very conscious decisions. And I tell people all the time when they say, because here's the thing for me. We got to make up our minds. we can't sit and say that this woman is one of the greatest entertainers or women rappers of all times, that she has, fans, which is true, that span the entire world. People love Nicki Minaj, right? You say something about her, there are thousands of people who will come to her defense. So if she has that type of support, then you can't say that, but she was so isolated and so sad and so whatever. That takes self-accountability.
I think she's dealing with mental health as well. I really think she's dealing with mental health.
I think you say she's dealing with mental health, and I'm not saying that she's not, because all of us got a little bit of touchness going on with all types of different things that we are dealing with. That does not mean that she is not still making a very conscious decision to choose the direction of MAGA, because she is looking for a place to platform herself. That is not
think she's
just
looking
mental.
for a pardon for her father.
Yeah, but it's not her father; it's her brother.
No, it's her father as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, I mean not her father. I mean her brother. Her brother.
Yeah, it's her brother.
Her brother and her husband.
Her husband. I think one of them is on the state level, so they would not be pardoned by by the Trump administration. I don't know all of those things that I hear people are online. Oh, she needs this and she's looking for a pardon for this and that. Those things are great, especially when you're trying to find layered reasons to understand why somebody may or may not have done something. And guess what? If you are a supporter, you love people, you love Black people in general, you're going to try to find a way to make sense of when they disappoint you. So I'm not going to argue with anybody. Whatever your reasons are for why you think Nicki Minaj may be doing what she's doing, good, great, make up all the reasons you want, and 5 or 6 of them may be true. But at the base, the foundation of this is a person who, to my knowledge, has made some very sound business decisions over her career that helped to catapult her to where she is. She likes to talk about coming from Queens. You don't come from Queens and just become Nicki Minaj. It's not, it requires you to monitor the relationships you get in, the people you work around, how you maneuver within your business and in business spaces. She is making a conscious decision that she wants to elevate herself to a particular level, and she's using a vessel to be able to do that. She was available. That's the thing about the MAGA cult. They look for blood in the water. They can smell it. They know when people are looking for, and she did. And by the way, see, I watched all of this. I watched it happen. She did a bidding job, right? Because if you go back and watch what she was doing some months ago, she started tweeting at them people. Now, I guess they did use a clip of her song or something like that, but she started tweeting at them people. She started, putting little things out there in the air, and then they see it and they sucked it right on up, and they said, okay, you can come out and be a part of different activities. And I knew when she went to the United Nations, and I said it, if you watch the clip of the video that I put out when she went to the United Nations, I said there will be consequences for her actions, and it won't be long before we see it happen. And she may not believe it. And other people who are part of her world, the Barbs and the Kens and all these folks, may not know it now. But her stock value went down when she sat on that stage with the wife of a man who didn't even like her, who spoke against her, and who at his core, he was racist. Period. Charlie Kirk was at his core racist. Did he deserve to be shot to death on it at all, whether it was at home or on TV or whatever? No, he did not deserve to be shot to death in that way, especially for the entire world to see it, his family, his children. No, that I do not believe in that. But what I can tell you is that he was racist. He spoke against our community, and for you to sit up there with his wife who is saying that she's going to carry forward his legacy, and then to exalt and to praise people who are doing all the things that I listed, from Black women not having employment, as we, being pushed out of the workforce at such high rates, higher than any other group of people. These are the types of things that you support. You support
and we right behind
the
you.
immigration. No, well, actually, Black men have been more unemployed for a longer period of time. We're just talking about a short period of time from January to October. But Black men have been dealing with high numbers of unemployment for a long time. These are the people. This man, Donald Trump, is the person that you choose to sit up there with. And guess what? It is a stain that is on her career for the rest of her life, and it is the collateral consequences of standing next to a racist, demonic group of people and saying that you admire them, at least. And I don't agree with when Snoop went to do the performance. I don't agree with Nelly. I don't agree with any of them, but at least they went up there and did the singing and the dance and then moved on. It is something else to be said about you sitting there saying words that's a damn lie. And don't you put on Black women that we have time in our schedule to worry about what a white woman looks like, because it has never, ever been the case. You are lying on your own community so you can sit up there and be in the presence of them people, them evil ass people.
Yeah, it's really sick. But the crazy part, because I was reading some of the comments, and most of the comments were saying, most of the backlash came from white women. Like, it wasn't even majority Black women that was saying that what they did was wrong or whatever that commercial was. It was a lot of white women saying that they didn't like the representation.
Oh, talking about the American Eagle or whatever it was. The that it still doesn't. It doesn't. It's like someone said to me, "Why don't you sit down with Nicki Minaj and have a conversation?" I would never. And not because I don't want to, but because the poor sister couldn't even have a conversation with me. Yeah. She wouldn't even be able to explain half of the things she's talking about. And I know it because I saw it when you were speaking yesterday.
Yeah, and you thought that you were saying something that was profound. And the thing is, they think that you said something profound, and it's really sad. And that's why I'm saying this is the Matrix. And I be looking at the TV like, is it me? Like, is this really the shit that's happening? Like, this is really happening, and people are telling me that this is it. And it's like, nah. But the thing is, what gives me hope is that the world rejects it, right? Because if you get caught up in social media and the media and the news, and you just look on there, and then you go outside and realize, well, they just did a rally with over 200,000 people saying fuck all that. Yeah. And they did another rally with 300,000 people saying fuck all around the world. So the world is rejecting it. We not alone. They want you to feel isolated. They come to your page. They send bots. They send 200 bots, and you feel like, damn, my voice don't matter. I don't want to say nothing because I'm not in the status quo. No, you actually matter.
But I'll tell you something. When I made the video, the initial video, and again, people were like, oh, you should sit down with her and y'all should talk. And I'm like, for what reason? There was a time to talk before the situation happened. But nevertheless, what I noticed was that people came to my comment section. When she went to the United Nations to speak for Nigeria, I laughed because it's comical. I sat and read comments on the Shade Room, posted it, a couple different places, I think like Hollywood Unlocked. And then there was actually a post that we were at an event somewhere, and the people collaborated with me. And so I posted it, and this was like right in the middle of the time when I just said the stuff about Nicki Minaj. And there were all these comments of people being like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. She said it, that it's not about picking sides. It's ain't about her supporting Donald Trump. Yeah. It's that she's trying to help the people in Nigeria. Like, how dare y'all? And it made sense not even to them. If you listen to them, like, yo, y'all mad at somebody that wants to help the Christians in Nigeria? Like, what is your problem? But again, the elevated mindset, like when you can think at a higher level, you realize that this is all a shell. It's a shell game. They don't give a shit about helping people in Nigeria, because if you did, why don't you come the hell up out of there creating chaos, you and the EAU and all these other nations that are involved in African politics that's basically dividing their people and creating the conflicts that we see happening on the ground because you over there stealing resources. So when people were saying that, I'm thinking to myself, perhaps she believes that that's her position on this,
even though you
this
knew
board,
better,
this chessboard. But I knew better. But what I will tell you is that after, and I knew it, and I said in my video, you will see. And then remember, I had to do a follow-up statement because people were like, oh, whatever. And I did a follow-up statement to say, I know what I'm talking about. I'm not telling you what I think. I know exactly the path that this sister is traveling down. And I'm telling you, I know where it ends. And guess what? Now, in the last 24 hours since we spoke on this, her being wherever, it might be 3 people who've made a comment to say, oh, why y'all hating on her? For the most part, people are saying, damn, you were right. In fact, people have gone back and found the clip of what I originally said. And they started sharing and saying, you know what, I have to give it to the sister. I knew what I was talking about. I've been doing this for 30 years of my life. I can smell, I can see, and I know when somebody is engaging or getting themselves politically in something that will hurt them in the long run.
Yeah.
Now, I may not have always been able to see it for myself, but I could definitely see it for other people.
Hey, sometimes when you speak from the heart, they gonna throw stones at you, man. They crucified Jesus Christ.
Well, listen, let's not. I did that already. It got me in a whole lot of trouble for using that example. All right, so we're still deep in our series where we're talking about what it's supposed to be online, right? It ain't what it's supposed to be. So often what we see is wonderful because we put forward the best moments of our lives. For the most part, we do sometimes tell people about the hard things, but most people pick up the inspiration of what we've built and what we've created and how we got to the finished product. And they don't always know that there's so much more happening behind the scenes. And today we're excited to have a conversation with Khalila Wright of Mess in a Bottle. And Khalila is a sister who, first of all, many of you know because you're already following, because, I go on there and peek and see what's going on in your world. And you actually come up a lot on the Explorer page.
Oh, well, good to know that, because I'm always like, is this thing working?
Yeah,
is it on?
You come up a lot on the Explorer page. Okay. And that's a good thing, right? So people are getting an opportunity to see what you have created. You started out in a row house in Baltimore.
I did.
Now, I've been to Baltimore and I've been to some row houses. And most people, not that none of them, because many people have come from some of our community's most challenged pockets and they made major successes of themselves. But you came from a row house that you own, where you were supposed to be studying architecture.
Yep.
And instead created a brand.
Yep.
And now here you are sitting, in being interviewed, people coming to you for advice on culture and all of that. And we're excited to have you here today because I also know, which we'll talk about later, that what it's supposed to be, there's a lot more that's going on behind the scenes. And you certainly have had some challenges. So thank you for joining the TMI show.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you for being here, actually. Yes. So I want to know, what was the shift? Like, you went to study architecture, and then you ended up starting your own business. What made you shift to that?
Well, great question. It sort of aligns with, what you guys, the important work that you guys do. So in 2016, I started Mess in a Bottle, and it birthed from a row home in Baltimore because Freddie Gray, as you guys know, died while in police custody. And that happened in my Baltimore City community. And so I was going to work, working for a large retail company, and doing architecture. And it felt like I needed to give the world a message during that time, because people really didn't understand the plight that we were truly feeling. And as I watched the uprising happening in my community, my local CVS is the one that burnt down on Pennsylvania Avenue. So
we
that,
were there. We
yes,
were there.
yes. So that, just watching it on television and, then seeing the ruins after, I was just like, it's more important. Like, I needed to give the world a message. And that's how Mess in a Bottle was birthed.
Wow. Mess in a Bottle.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that, mess in a bottle. So it is all, I mean, I know the answer, but for someone who's listening, is everything in a bottle or no? Is it?
So mess in a bottle, it comes from the 210 BC form of communication and receiving a message in the ocean. And so that's kind of how the concept came about. And because things were such a mess, I was like, it's a mess in a bottle. It's not a message in a bottle. So the messages are a part of your mess. And so we put them on T-shirts, and then the T-shirts come packaged in a bottle.
What was your sale? What happened? What was that moment when people were like, "Oh, I love this"?
Right. So I think one significant moment for me, I created a message, and it says, "I'm just a bad chick with a bald head living life." And I did that just to embrace me having short hair and just wanting to feel like, a powerful Black woman in a room. And I had cancer patients who were white, who were Asian, and they wore it to ring their bell when they crossed over that. And that for me was like, I had a young child with alopecia at 7, and her mom was like, can you make this message for her so she feels empowered and she feels like a bad chick? And when that happened, I was like, going to architecture and being in a space with architects, and it's a white male predominant feel, being able to create something that spans so far where people everywhere connected with the message, it made me realize I was doing the right thing and launching the right thing 10 years ago.
So most of your shirts, since we talking about it, they have like a message.
Yes.
Right? Let me see. This is one that she gave me that is dope. And it says 100% Black owned.
I felt like you needed that. I feel like it represents you.
Yeah, this is what I am.
Yes.
So, just watching your success, as you grow, what has changed, like structurally, like the process? Do you have the scale, upscale, downscale? Like,
that's an amazing question, because I think what you alluded to earlier is that with business, there is mess. It's never clear. There's never a clear path. And so unfortunately on social media, a lot of people do show from the start to the finish. But I read a book a couple years ago. It's The Messy Middle. And that really describes this path. And I bought it just because it had the word mess in it. But it is a book about entrepreneurship and how the middle, no one talks. Everyone glorifies the beginning. The beginning is this beautiful thing. There's not that much naivete in the beginning, because you're like, like you're so enchanted with like the possibilities.
It's hard. It can be still hard.
It is right, but it's still, but the unknown. You like, it's about to, like you feel so empowered. But then when you get to the middle, or the middle could feel like the end. You don't even know if it's the end of your journey or not, or the end of that chapter within your business. And so I think that, I try to do this thing where I'm honest with myself, because it brings me back to reality. Like, one of the reasons I guess I'm so transparent on social media is I don't want to trick myself, And so I'm like, the more I could really be honest and talk about the mess, is the more that I could remind myself like it's okay, and that everyone in business goes through ebbs and flows. And, and it's not, you don't need to glorify just the wins and the successes. Like that there's that part in between that's like a little bit rough that you have to go through.
Well, what's your mess in the middle been like?
Lately it's been really feeling rough, and I'm happy that you guys asked me to, be on here, especially just even for the mental health part of it. Again, me being honest with my messengers, as I call the people that support me, it helps me to be in this place mentally where I could be like, I'm not okay. I'm a good person that, like, I do well with showing up, smiling. I have children, I have a great partner, and so I do a lot of, smile, and everyone thinks like, oh, you're good, you're one of the strong ones. I am, but I so need a hug at times as well. And I think that when you reach a level of success that people think you're really successful, like, you can't complain as much, because then they're like, okay, what you complaining about? Your mortgages, I'm still trying to find rent, or and so things like that become a little bit hard for you to express yourself. So this middle part that I've been experiencing lately, it's been rough, especially when it's like you come from a place where along the journey, like, and to answer your question before, like, I started with just me. And then maybe pandemic, or like maybe 3 to 5 years into the business, I hired my first employee. Then I had like a team. I try to make everything official. I had maybe 9 or 10 employees, handbook, HR stuff going on. Like, I really, payroll was, like, there was all of that. And then things started to decline. Things started to change. And you go from people checking for you, calling for you, wanting you on stuff, to now nobody's calling, nobody's checking, no one's asking you, no one's checking for your message like that. And so it makes you question, like, sort of not just my identity within this company and what I've built, but it questions you. And that part is hard, because then I'm like, am I not that girl that I thought I was when it comes to the design and who I am and what I've created? Was it all an illusion? And, so those are the things that I try to say out loud, so that other people who may be too afraid to say it, that they can resonate with it too, and normalize the feelings. Because that's, I got a therapist on deck. I may not be able to afford my monthly, bi-weekly visits like I once did, but I have people where when I'm starting to feel and doubt myself, I can actually articulate it, say it out loud, and make myself know that these feelings, it's okay that you're feeling like this. Not enough people are saying that. And so I want to be one of the ones that continue to say it's okay.
I love the transparency in that, because we've been talking a lot about how Black women have been pushed out of the job market, have lost a lot of retail. Do you think not retail, have lost a lot of resources and business just based off this administration? Do you think that when you talk about your mess, do you think that this administration and the DEI and all those things have hindered your growth?
Oh man, 110%. Like, not just, you have down to grants and certain things that, would keep businesses afloat, would help to push people forward. It is now like we're in a space, every man for themselves. Like, I've been seeing it. Everyone is trying to secure their own dollars, trying to make sure they have enough to feed their families, so things are shifting, not just Black-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, it's such a trickle down. And so it's unfortunate, it's sad, but it is also forcing me to think differently about how I'm doing business as well, and to be smarter with what I'm going into and how I'm navigating, business.
And that's the thing, is that especially for Black folks, we take every opportunity to figure out like the areas where we could do better, how we can grow in general, because we're so used to being in hot water. Yeah. So, and that's not a place I want us to stay as a people, but I appreciate that our forefathers, if you will, our elders taught us what it is to take a terrible place that you may be in and figure out how not to go back to this exact place. And if you ever make it here, the tools, you have Correct. The tools to fight your way out. And I feel like that's kind of like the moment that we're faced with, because we weren't always employed at the level that we, because, by the way, everybody knew. And sometimes it's bad to put out their data because it makes people jealous of us. Right. That
that's exactly what happened.
The fastest growing entrepreneurs, the most educated, we have the most degrees. Yep. and we vote together more than any other community, Black women,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is it's clear that they sat down and they said, how do we disrupt this?
Yep.
Because this thing is foundational for their community. And if
Right.
we want to destabilize them, we got to break up that Black girl magic. Because
Yes.
that's where the secret sauce is. And it's okay, you know? So I just feel like listening to you say, even now, you're like, oh, well, I can't afford to go to my therapist as much as I did before. And I've been saying on this show, the same thing for me. It's like, I got on the train the other day, which is not a thing that I ever really do, but I couldn't afford to pay $220 to get where it is that I'm going. People don't generally say those words
Right.
in public.
Right.
You know, you feel
Right.
uncomfortable exposing yourself because it just feels like your people gonna be like, you don't got
Yes.
it? Yeah, no, I don't. And
Right.
you don't either.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and if you do, bless you. But I
Right.
know, sis.
Yeah.
I know.
It's a hard space to be in, but I'll tell you, so many people have said thank you when they see me. Strangers, you know, like they're like, thank you. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for saying the thing that no one has said. I recently posted that my car got repossessed. That wasn't a hard thing. I got it back, thankfully, and, you know, we're going to continue to try. But that was hard, you know, especially even for my partner, for, you know, like for me to put something so vulnerable out there. And I'm like, we all, you know, like, a couple years ago, things were popping, money was flowing a bit, like, you know, the administration was different, and so, you know, things were different, and because of that, we all got to a level of, you know, maybe comfort in certain spaces where we were either financially doing stuff, you know, things were flowing a lot better.
What was your highest sales? Like when was your
like
moment?
2.3 million.
Wow, in 1 year?
Yeah. Yep, about 2.3, if not a little bit more than that, a year.
And
Yep.
now,
Ugh,
You don't wanna
it's
talk
scraping. No, I don't. I mean, we're really, and it's, well, I'll also say this. I'll preface it by saying I'm transitioning because, you know, though I have my pretty bottles out and stuff, I know that there's volume, like you need volume for it to sustain. And also within, I have to tell myself, I've had a baby in the last 2 years.
life
you know,
change.
yeah.
Things- you grew up.
And, yeah, I did. And also what I want has changed. I've been doing my business for the last 10 years. So it's not per se that like sales just completely plummet.
No,
it's more me.
There's
It's a
a
shift.
difference
There
between
is.
There's
And
a
my
difference
hustle is
between
different.
2.3 million and a few 100,000.
Correct.
Yeah, that
Correct.
doesn't
And
mean
even,
there's nothing.
And even that, like, you know, maybe a year ago we made like maybe $1 million, a little less. And my accountant's like, you are right. Like, meaning I cut advertisement, I did certain things, and he's like, and you got rid of employees. He's like, you did certain things. So even if you're making $1 million,
But
you're
that,
still.
you know what the thing is? I didn't mean to cut
Oh,
you,
you
more
good.
wisdom, but that's like the natural shift of business. Like most of the businesses die in the first 2 years. They say
Right.
first independent business in the first 2 years, they don't even survive.
Right.
So like we've all had to go through that. There's these up and down. And
It
it's the ability to adjust and then understand, okay, I have to scale back here. I have to change marketing here. I have to look at the demographic. I have to understand the trends.
And you know, you're right, my son, because we had John Hope Bryant on for, he's also was a part of this series of
Okay.
It Ain't What It Supposed to Be. And he said that if you have a business and your income has changed, but yet your expenses are still the same, you're automatically going to go broke. Like, it doesn't work. So you're talking about, look, I knew I could see it coming, and we started changing things, cutting things, and making the necessary changes to be in the reality of where you are versus where you want to be.
But look, I didn't do it fast enough. I ain't gonna lie.
Me too.
I didn't do it
Same
fast
here.
enough. I still was like, but maybe, but well. And that's also the honesty that we have to have with ourselves. I definitely didn't do it fast enough. And like now, this year, I'm feeling the pressure. It was like, oh, you should have got rid of that. You know, and I'm like, no, but you hold on. There's so much hope in it. You're like, well, things are gonna, and you know, we are right now hoping that the economy gets better. And we know it's not going to get better before it probably gets a little bit worse with everything going on, unfortunately, in the administration. situation. So those are the things that we're faced with. And it's like, no, you got to make the changes. I think this year for the first time, and I think a lot of people, because I'm seeing it on a lot, you know how everybody do the timeline for the year, and everybody's like, oh, this year has been a little rough. And so I think that what is happening now, I'm feeling like you got to do hard things. You got to do things you don't like. And that's the kind of coaching that I'm doing to myself and telling myself, like, if it doesn't feel like kind of hard, if it doesn't sting, you probably need to even make more of a...
But you might need to sting too.
No, I'm saying if you, whatever you are doing, if it doesn't hurt, if it doesn't sting, if you're not feeling like,
it ain't working,
then that means that you probably could turn it up a little bit more and make more sacrifice to the thing that you don't, like you said, the train, right? Like you said, you got on the train, and it's just
but
like,
that's not the sting.
It isn't,
that I need.
but
I
if
need
you
to stop eating expensive meals that cost $300 and $400.
Well, then there's that. look, then there's that.
That's
gonna sting.
Don't need to eat as much anyway,
right?
Because I'm over here expanding the back of the shirt,
and we don't have time for new clothes. See, it's a trickle down effect, and you don't need that.
You're right.
But that's the type of stuff where it's like we have to really make those hard decisions, and also be uncomfortable.
Yeah,
I don't think that I'm not uncomfortable enough. Like and not to bring out all in my business, all in my mess. But I just told my partner, like, we were in the house. My son, he walks around. I'm from Jamaica. He walks around like it's Jamaica. Like I'm like, the heat bill is up. You need to walk around. We need to feel that uncomfortableness. And we're so used to being comfortable. We so used to like, the heat on 75, 80. No. Bring that down, because when you start to look at stuff, and it's that, and that is what I'm trying to bring into the new year. How can I be comfortable in my most uncomfortable state? Ooh, that's a message.
That's it.
So what is that goes into the next question. When you create these messages, like you just came up with something like that, like what is the process? Does things just pop in your head? Do you look at the trends? Like
it does. It's a little bit of both. I think sometimes I will see like what the world is talking about. And right now everything's a mess. So I think that there's a lot of sound bites. There's a lot of things that come out of things that crazy people say, at the podium at the White House. So I think that feeds me to be able to create messages. But again, because the state of the world is so heavy, it has also put so much pressure on me in a negative way where creating has become hard. That's because true. It's like every 5 seconds it's like, there's some other mess that I could put on a shirt. So it's also being strategic, smart as a business owner. So one of the things I teach a tea class, and I teach other people how to create their own t-shirt companies. And so one of the things I say and think about is like the longevity of your message. So I don't try to create something just for the moment in time. I'm like, what's something that we could create that will grow legs, that has, some form of longevity that I could say in the next couple of months, because then that goes back to sales. Sometimes when you create these little things that somebody says, or that it just dies so quickly.
The statement was reclaiming my time. Right, that was big.
Right,
it was big.
Right,
and it will always have some
relevance.
Relevance. But it's not.
It was hot during that period and time.
Right. Right.
But like couple years, couple years. It's like, all right,
now it's bleach blonde, whatever.
Bad butch body. Yes.
Yeah, that's the one.
So that's the thing. Like, you want to be strategic about the messaging, and that's where I think that I've been a good wordsmith and making sure that, and I know what resonates with the people. I want something that when you walk through the airport, you're either getting someone. I created the message so that it's to start conversations. You want someone walking in the airport to be like, yeah, I feel you, sis. Like that makes me know I created something, a message that people get. And if they're not feeling the message, they're going to ask you about it. So what you mean by that? Like, what does this message mean? What does a Black woman created this mean? Is it that your mama created this? Is that the person who created the shirt? So all of those things, that's like when I know I have something, have a powerful message.
Do you ever feel like just giving up, quitting?
So about yesterday, right? I put in these papers now. Yes, every day. I mean, honestly, I'm grateful. I've said it before, when you guys sent me a message, I was like, thank you. Thank you for seeing me. Again, you question, you start to think like, is what I'm doing, is it what I'm supposed to be? And I don't know. Like, I'm really in a place right now I have to think about, how does it feed my family? How does it stop being so pressure filled for me? I have 2 children. My son is at, middle school age. He needs me as well. So this became a thing that I enjoyed, that I loved, that resonated, but I am at a place where I'm okay with accepting if the mess is over for me in this state, and it's not to say mess in a bottle or the message is over. It may mean me creating t-shirts is no more. And that's okay too. Maybe my message resonates and show up in a different way. Maybe it's like this. Maybe it is, doing something on trains or TV or whatever, and doing something with interviewing people, who knows? But I think that that's also the beauty in like figure this life journey that we're on. And so it's like, I've been, again, coaching myself over the last year and mourning the loss of my business the way it was, because it was once popping and people and employees, and I got to understand what that felt like, and now it's me by myself in a room making shirts, and it doesn't feel as good, and it's kind of scary, because now it's like this thing that I've done for the last 10 years is shifting. So what do? Do you shift with it? Do you end it? And I'm really in this place where, am I stopping myself from what's next? Because I'm still holding on. Like I did a whole announcement maybe like in August, and I was like, I'm done, you guys, and go out on a hot. And then 2 months later, I turned it all back on, turned the website back on. And it's just like, no, it doesn't. I don't think that's where I'm supposed to be.
But it could be. And you know what? I something came to me as you were speaking. Just prophetic energy.
Okay.
Just came through me, and I'm like, what happened to the architecture?
So I'm actually teaching architecture right now at Morgan State University. And so that's been beautiful too. Again, this journey, this mess is forcing me.
She didn't tell us that. Like now we're like, okay, and
right. So well, it just started. So again, I brought people in on a journey with me. I said, I don't know what the fall is looking like. I'm going to knock on doors. I have to feed my family. And so I went up to Morgan. I'm an alumni. I have my master's degree in architecture. And I went there and I said, hey, you guys have any classes in the fall that I could teach? And they said, we actually do. And so I started teaching this fall. I had, I taught 3rd year architecture, so juniors. And it's been beautiful. Again, a journey experience. I have a master's degree in architecture. Yeah, like it's like you have to figure out what your message is.
You have
into the
a
world.
master's degree in architecture. So
I
it's
do.
not like you started building something or started studying and then just dropped it so that you could go build mess in the bottle.
No.
You completed your education in architecture and created Mess in the Bottle.
Yep.
Launched that, leaned into where God was giving you like energy.
Yep.
And then now you're able to not so much fall back on, but you're able to lean on
For sure.
a skill set that you invested in. Because I know 2 people who completed their masters in architecture, and it's hard.
Okay.
It's not easy. The number 2 fields that I watch people close to me go through, and I know it's hard. Well, I was going to say lawyer too, but that's not the one. It's nursing and architecture.
People underestimate how difficult
It's not just go
architecture
draw.
is. Really difficult
Lots of
profession.
numbers, a lot of, I would say and I don't know much, but I'm also, there's a designer in me. Not a web designer,
Right.
but a designer of things and building. It's in me somewhere. And so I was a little bit interested. And what I realized is there's so many common sense theories to like how you get to an end goal. And not everybody has the ability to like think, right? And in terms of architecture, building things. That's a lot of work.
It
so
is.
you're telling me you were doing that, like getting your education and building this at the same. They ran.
So no. So I've in 2010 is when I graduated.
Oh,
got
you
my
graduated.
master's.
Okay,
Got my
cool.
master's degree, and then in 2016 is when I officially launched Mess in a Bottle.
Okay.
So in between that time, I've done a lot of, like, I was working for a firm. I was, so I was on my trajectory to become a licensed architect. So just so you know, and for the numbers, 0.02% Black, African Americans become licensed architects. Like,
I'm
that's
telling
how
you.
low
That's
the
how low it
numbers
is.
are.
And both of the people that I know are men.
Yes. Yeah.
That became
and so
architects.
especially for women, it's even lower. It's a very small number. So I'm not licensed in architecture, but I have my master's degree, so I could practice and do stuff. So I've been doing that for a while. 5 years before I decided to start my own business. And so I just knew that I was a creative, a designer, and I didn't know if I wanted to really get into the numbers and take exams. Like, it's really difficult. But now I'm back at that place, and now I'm revisiting it all 10 years later. So even looking at teaching architecture right now, I'm like, it's the thing where maybe I want to do residential, maybe I want to do a little commercial architecture. So it's really just figuring out what's this next and how to transition to whatever is next, and making sure that it can sustain me and my family.
But there was a time, this is what came to me. There was a time when architecture, what was built in society, was a message, right? Like a building, it said something. It represented ancient this or whatever, a era or a storyline. Nowadays, we have so many cookie cutter models so that we can quickly get up the biggest, the
capitalism,
most,
the money.
Yeah,
right.
It's all about like the most fancy, tall, high, whatever. And the idea of good shit, by the way, like sustainable things that have quality to it, we've lost that so much. So, I feel like there's somebody out there who right now is looking for the person to build their vision, not just like another house or another, building or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's a message still somewhere
Thank you. Well,
in it.
I'll definitely receive it. And I think the thing is, especially with going back into education, it's been helping me also to build my confidence back into architecture. Like, I've been out of the profession for the last 10 years, so it's me getting my feet back wet and figuring out where do I fit into there, into that.
Understood.
So, as you continue to go through both of these things, would you suggest entrepreneurship to someone?
Oh, 110%. I feel like, entrepreneurship is so beautiful right now just because there's so many different paths, roads, and also one of the reasons that I stopped doing architecture when I did was I felt like there was a glass ceiling. There was acceptance in certain rooms and all this other stuff. I created my own, box and my own ceiling, and it's up to you to decide how you want to do and how well you want to do and what you want to make and all that, all that other stuff. So I think it just really, I like entrepreneurship because it's how I look at the world right now. The white men that are pulling the strings and doing stuff, it's because they have entrepreneurial spirit and money and whatever. They were trained a different way of thinking. So I enjoy creating my own rules these days. And there's so much flexibility and opportunity for us out here to really create our own spaces.
That's what people love. They love the originality of the difference, right? Because now you see everybody trying to do the same thing. I've heard 25,000 people tell me they're studying, they're going to be an esthetician. I'm like, everybody
can't be.
Everybody. And if you are, okay, then what? What is going to make your skincare different from everybody else's? Because everybody's doing it. Now, I have some younger people in my life that a younger person, my granddaughter's mother, she's an esthetician, and her approach to everything is so fabulous. Like it's just so it's so different, oh God, what is the word that I'm looking for? Innovative. Okay. Innovative. So I can see that. But I can't imagine that she would just go get her a table and just start trying to take faces because it's 500 million people doing the same thing. Everybody's making a t-shirt. Everybody has got a podcast. Everybody's like, what makes you different? That's the thing that we all have to focus on.
But I think it's social media. like, I think that social media is warping so many minds and direction. No one wants to be an electrician anymore. Like, I was looking at, because I have an EV car, and I'm looking like, okay, well, how can I become licensed so that I could service these EV cars, so I could create an app? Like, that's the mindset of where I'm going into. I think that so many people look at social media, and of course, we're rewarding, the content side of it, and we're rewarding, like, the craziest things get millions of views, and now you're getting paid to be on it and all this other stuff. So it is training their minds to just go in this linear, direction, unfortunately. And so it is, you have to be careful, definitely, with what you consume as well,
It's so crazy, because I was just having that conversation with my younger brother, my sons. And I looked online, and they were saying that the next millionaires are going to be those who do HVAC, who do construction, who build the things, and who are skilled in electricians and all that. And these kids don't see that, because that's not what they've been taught right now. That is the trending thing. What would you say right now to the 18-year-old you?
I would say it's okay to be a mess. Being a mess has taught me so much, and it has let me explore so much in different areas. And at first, you hear all the time, like, whether it's parents or friends, like, you're such a mess. And, like, it makes you feel like you're all over the place. Yeah, you're all over the place. And I remember I got so self-conscious about that. But being a mess has really forced me to explore so many different areas: fashion, this, that, interior design, whatever it is, going to other countries, touching textiles, and I love that, honestly, even at my big age, I am here, like, I could be whatever I want to be. I could start over tomorrow. Like, and that is beautiful to me. And so I want to tell the, people out there that are trying to reinvent and figure, it's okay to be a mess, because the mess is going to definitely bring you to the message.
Well, you can't stay a mess forever, though.
You can't, but that's where the message will reveal itself, and you'll know where to land.
And that's what's happening to you right now. The mess, you've gone through the mess, and here you are coming out on the other side, where it's not like you're leaving it all behind, but you're taking it to your next level. And I see it. I see it. It's almost like there is a screen here, and I'm watching your life play out, because there's no way that you came this far for nothing. Like, you're not even starting over.
Right.
You're really just a continuation in a beautiful direction. So we support you.
Thank you.
100%. It's really good to sit down and listen to a person who is like, and everybody in this series, everyone who we've talked with has been so transparent about how tough it is. It's not just in business. It's just in life in general, because while you're building a business, life is also happening. And if you didn't do your taxes well before you started a business, you're not going to do it
now that you got a business.
Now that you have a business. So it's also life skills, things that no one tells us, no one teaches us. We have to learn it as we go. And it's just good to know that you are so willing to be open about your journey and what you've had to learn along the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to ask one final question what do you want your legacy to be?
Ooh. So I'm grateful, because I always ask myself, like, if you go today, like, is it okay? And I think it's all right. I definitely feel like I've put my mark on the world. I'm excited to see what's next. God willing, I got another 40, 50 more years, and I could do other amazing things, write books, films, whatever it is. But I feel like I've touched a lot of people through my messages, and I didn't know that I was gonna come out on this other side of things. And so, I'm from Brooklyn, so though I'm a Baltimore girl who has really raised me, and I was able to start a business, I'm from New York. And so it's
sound like Carmelo. You a Melo guy.
Yeah. So it's been a beautiful journey, and I think my legacy has been really rooted in me doing, like, the unknown and being okay with just traveling this journey. And, like, I've always showed up and done my best. So I'm grateful. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So I'm grateful for that.
Well, we appreciate you. Your story, your energy is amazing.
Thank you.
And you're definitely going to continue to be successful. Whatever you do, you're going to be successful because you speak that energy. A lot of people don't understand that their energy and their words create their vibes in their life. So continue to be great.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome to meet you, Khalila. To be in your space is to be around somebody who's a light.
Oh,
you
thanks.
have
That
a
means a
light
lot
on
to
you,
me.
and God bless you along the way.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for
appreciate
being
that.
here. Shout out to Khalila Wright. She is an amazing woman.
Yeah, she is. I've been following her for a little bit, and she's actually like, she's like, like one of those I built it from the bottom up for real type of people. Like, so she's really a great sister.
Yeah, I've heard her name a lot. I've heard about Mess in the Bottle, and I've seen her online. But just when you're around people and you just feel the energy, like I always tell you all the time, when you around people and you be around people for a minute, you could tell either why they're successful or not successful. And her success is because she has energy that that's exuberates and grabs on to success.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, I guess so. I mean, that sounds good. Like, now that she'll be going back into probably her architecture, and I can see what you're saying, like her energy is like, no matter what it is, I'm gonna make it work. And I like that she's talking about, I need to be able to feed my family. That's a real thing that, it always is in the back of, of most people's minds, but you don't always talk about it because you don't want to feel like you started something and you failed or you're not able to make it happen. So again, she's a dope sister, and I definitely want to support her in whatever her next steps are, because I think that's another thing that people need to see, that just because this thing didn't happen does not mean that it's the end, but instead you can actually pick up from where you have left off and start and maybe travel in a different direction and still be successful. And folks need to see examples of that you don't have to die with the brand that you loved so much. You don't got to die with the woman or the man that you loved so much, or the thing that is like an anchor, it's holding you down. You need to be able to know when it's time to, what do they say? Know when to hold and when to fold.
That's part of life, man. It's about evolution. It's about growth. Some things you grow with, some things you outgrow, and you just keep moving. So and that brings me to my I don't get it today. Shout out to 21 Savage. He did an interview with Big Bank, and he was talking about a lot of things that were going on inside of Atlanta, and that caused him to go online, right? And after the interview, he started talking to Young Thug and talking to Gunna, just trying to get everybody to come back. And he was just talking about a lot of his truth. And one of the things that he started a hashtag, and it was fuck the streets, right? And a lot of people grabbed on. You seen Young Thug's tweets, fuck the streets. You seen G Herbo. You see a lot of different people start tweeting "fuck the streets," and it started becoming a hashtag. And initially when I heard the hashtag, I was like, okay, I'm all for it. Yeah, like fuck the streets, because we understand the streets it's only two ways out the streets. It's either jail or in the coffin, and that's when you've experienced the streets, you've delved in the streets in every arena in the streets, from negativity to positivity. Just the overarching reality of the streets is that there's really no real success, and the mindset that comes with it. I posted on my Instagram about it because I seen other people who were just not good individuals, who just what I call rats and turncoats, tried to grab on to that hashtag to say, oh, look, see, I've been telling y'all F the streets. But y'all was saying F the streets because y'all told on people and y'all was too weak to deal with the consequences. So now you want to attach with these individuals who actually, went through the ups and downs, took their consequences, and just as they grow, they realize that it really was no future in the streets. And they're telling people to come behind them that there's really no future in the streets. So I posted mines, just coming from that angle. But then later on, there was so much backlash. A lot of people I seen, Boozy talking about, oh, y'all saying F the streets. Well, don't talk about the streets. And I seen a lot of these young kids saying, how you going to say F the streets? A lot of people that was just from the streets, how you going to say F the streets? And it was such a big backlash. A lot of people didn't understand why. At first, I was just like, well, why would somebody have an issue with somebody evolving? You know, so my I don't get it is, first, I did not get why people didn't get why we were saying F the streets. But now I actually get it. Right? And I actually get what the issue is. And a lot of us that come from the streets have evolved from the streets. But there's a lot of people who haven't evolved from the streets. All they actually have is the streets. Is a person living day to day, and they're looking at people who once glorified the streets, who come from the streets as their motto. And that's all they are. All they have is the streets. They go to the corner every day. Some of them might be hustling. Some of them might just be outside. But they love their block. They say, I'm from the streets. That's the only identity they have. So when they hear you saying, fuck the streets, they take it as you saying, fuck them. Right? They don't think that you're saying the ills and spills and the negativity that some people have got shot. You lost friends in the war. You lost people that's never coming back. Some is in jail. You know, you've seen backstabbed because the law of the streets is kill or be killed, the survival of the fittest. They don't identify with that right now because they've never experienced that. So when they hear the terminology fuck the streets, they actually take it as you're saying fuck me, because I'm in their mind, they actually are the streets. So understanding that, I think that we have to do a better job at messaging. You know, I was having this conversation with D1 a long time ago. I love D1, and D1's whole thing is that we got to change the message in hip hop. You know, the hip hop, the message has been detrimental. It's killed us. We've glorified drugs. We've glorified crime. But he started identifying individuals who did it. And rather than people taking the message, the individuals felt offended, right? And when we saying fuck the streets, the individuals who feel like all they have is the streets are going to feel attacked, right? So we have to figure out how do we make this message to the kids that we actually trying to save that's in the street, and even grown folks who haven't evolved from the streets because that's their only thing, their claim to fame. How do we help them? If we really, if our goal is actually to save the streets and make sure that these kids don't go through the same, you know, consequences and lose the things that we lost in the streets, if that's what our goal is, we can't attack the people that we saying we try to save that we love. So, you know, as much as my sentiment is, I'm not losing my life for the corner no more. I don't have anything to prove. I'm not going out on the corner to prove to you that I'm tougher than you, that I'm real. I have no interest in crashing out in that way, right? And that's my message. Unless it's about my family or my own survival, there's nothing that I need from the streets. I don't need validation from the streets because I validate me at this point. At this age in my life, I understand the only person that I need to validate me is myself. As long as I'm comfortable with the decisions I make and the manner I move, I don't need to prove to you that I'm tough. I don't need to prove to you that I can go through all of these things and I'm this and that and I can beat you and I can say tough stuff to you. I don't need none of that no more. And that comes with evolution. So my goal is to try to make sure that these kids know that at 15 and 16. And they're not going out killing each other because somebody said, oh, he said you soft, right? Or they trying to prove to somebody on the internet that they somebody, right? Mm-hmm. So I think for me, the message is now, how do we make sure that these kids understand that we care about them? And when we saying fuck the streets, it's not saying fuck you. Because you're not the streets. And by the time you find out you're not the streets, we don't want you to be in a jail cell with 100 years because you try to show the streets that you actually represent the street, because the streets don't got no love for you. It's brick and mortar. And when you die in that corner, somebody else is going to come to that corner. The corner ain't going nowhere. The streets that we love and we fight for, we don't even own the property on the streets. But we dying over the streets.
I wonder, what does it mean to be the streets? I heard what you said, and I understand the people who might just be outside, you know, the corner boys and girls. You know, I heard you with the hustlers, but I'm still trying to understand what is the thing that you are claiming.
Well, this is how I can give it to you as a real big understanding. When I look at Young Jeezy, right? Young Jeezy his motto was, I am the streets. Like, I am the streets. and we looked up to. We lived our life.
His name is Young Jeezy.
Yeah.
I thought it was just Jeezy.
It's Jeezy now, but it was Young Jeezy. But it's part of evolution. It was Young Jeezy, right? And he was the streets. He encompassed everything that we thought the streets was, and we wanted to be like Jeezy. A lot of people wanted to be like Jeezy, wanted to be a hustler, wanted to have the money, wanted to have the girl. We wanted that lifestyle. And as he evolved, he took the young off his name, right? He started telling you about, listen, we trying to buy the block now. Now, we not dying on no corners no more. And we watch this man now performing an album that was the streets, that pretty much mottoed what hustling was and surviving in the streets was in the late 90s.
Telling the story of it.
Right.
His album.
Exactly, the album. And we watch him now as a grown adult man putting on a suit, evolving, right? And he's telling you, like, I'm no longer need that. Like I had the conversation with him, about him and Gucci Mane in the verses, and it's the evolution from the streets to understand that I don't need validation from you, right? And at that point, he shifted into a next level, and a person who really is so engulfed in the streets didn't even see that, and that's the transition that a lot of people don't understand. When Gucci Mane said all this, and he was saying, we gonna smoke on Pookie Loke and this and that man said, this ain't even about that. He didn't need validation from the streets no more. The people that was gonna say, yo, Gucci Mane punked you and this and that. I know he didn't punk me. Because you think that's on you. I'm way at a different space. I could crash out and lose my life, and us lose our life, and we put on a show, and to y'all I did something tough. But as a grown man, me understanding my evolution, understanding what my purpose is, I don't have to do that. Right? And that's what evolution is. And that's what we got to try to teach these kids before they continue to crash out because they getting validations from people who can't really validate them. Most of the people are looking for validation from people who don't even have validation for themselves. And that's the trap that I watch a lot of our kids. So I want to say shout out to 21 Savage. But I want us to figure out, how do we message what we actually trying to say to these kids and to the streets that we actually trying to say, because a lot of us come from these streets. When I think about my block, I'm proud to be from the Bronx. I'm proud to be from High Bridge. I'm proud to be able to go out there and be able to influence these young kids positively. I claim Merriam. I do Merriam Day. So yes, a part of me is always going to be that block, right? And I want that. But I don't want the negativity that comes from it. I don't want to feel like I have to die in the corner because somebody said something to me. Right? I don't want to feel like hustling and doing all these negative things that's going to wind us in jail or dead is what encompasses me. It what identifies me. And I want our kids to understand you don't need to be identified by the streets. The streets don't make you, but they damn sure could break you.
Well, I could say things, but I think you said it all.
And with that said, we've come to the end of another episode. Shout out to Khalila Wright, Messing the Bottle. Continue to do your thing. We had an excellent interview. I can't wait to see what she does in the future. I know she's probably going to do some architectural things that are going to be amazing.
With a message.
With a message. I was going to say that I think she's going to combine both of those things.
Yeah, of course she
is.
is.
She's going to combine both of those things. It's going to be greater because she's scaling back, but she's understanding. And as things trend, she's going to figure out a way that she does her purpose and her passion and her skill set, and she combines both of them.
Yeah. Well, listen, it ain't what it's supposed to be. But then again, it is.
I'm not going to always be right. Tamika D. Mallory's not going to always be wrong, but we will both always, and I mean always, be authentic.
Peace.
Salute.